Hi guys, this is Raghav here from Headphone Zone. The best earphones under rupees 2000. One of those questions that I get asked maybe a couple hundred times every day. And we've got a video that we made some time back about best earphones in this price segment, but it's quite old now, and in the last couple of years, a lot of new products, a lot of new models in this segment have come out, and I thought we'd do a new updated video talking about the best earphones that we've got for less than 2000 rupees right now. Alright guys, so first up, I want to talk about one of the very popular earphones that we have, the Sony XB55AP. Now, Sony is at the pinnacle of Japanese design and engineering, and the XB55AP has been a very popular earphone. It's been around for a few years, it's got tons of reviews. It's designed to do one thing and one thing only, that's to give you a mind-blowing extra bass sound signature, and that's what XB stands for in this. Now, in terms of design, it's pretty unique. It's got a plastic housing, but it's got a metallic faceplate. It houses a 12mm dynamic driver, which is quite large for a earphone, and because of which the housing is quite large and bulky. It may not fit in everyone's ear. It's got a really nice rated cable, and you've got a one-button mic and remote that helps you pick up and drop calls if you're using it with your mobile phone. The thing that makes this different from everybody else is its unapologetic commitment to giving you an extra bass-driven sound signature. It's tuned so that the lower mids and the bass is overpowering the rest of the sound, and that works really well if you're listening to genres like EDM, hip-hop, trance, techno, if you kind of want that unapologetic low end to give you a club feel. But if you're somebody who's listening to music which has got multiple instruments and it's got a little bit more nuance in it, you'll find that the bass is really overpowering the rest of the frequencies, the mids, the highs, and so you really can't appreciate any variety in the music with these earphones. Now, I wouldn't call these a very good sounding earphone. There's really no soundstage, so it feels like the music is coming from one place in your head. You'll also find that the instruments aren't really separated. It feels like it's coming from one direction. But if you're a bass head and you're really looking to give your ears a nice low-end massage with tons of thump, then the XB55AP is quite literally designed to just do that. Alright, the next earphone that I have in my hand is from Sweden. This is the Jay's A1. Jay's is a brand that we've known for a long time, and the A1 is their latest wired IEM for less than 2000 rupees. This is undoubtedly one of the best designed, best looking earphones that I've seen in this segment. It follows the entire Swedish Scandinavian minimalistic design philosophy. So you'll find that Jay's is really famous for that, and the tangle-free flat cables that you find in all the earphones is there in this as well. And I really like the gold colored accents that they have in the earphones. It makes for a very classy earphone. In terms of design, they've also included a 3-button mic and remote, so not only can you pick up and drop your calls when you're using it with your mobile phone, it also has a volume controller that helps you adjust the volume. The sound signature on the Jay's is a V-shaped sound signature, which means that the bass and the treble both have been given a little bit of a boost to make it a fun earphone to listen to. As compared to the Sony, it's a lot more balanced, which means that you still find that the bass is there, it's nice and crisp and fun, but it allows for other frequencies, other sounds to also shine, which still is a very nice earphone to listen to. I wouldn't call this a very good sounding earphone from an audiophile perspective, because again, you'll find that there's really no soundstage, there's not too much separation, instruments still feel like they're coming from one direction. But as compared to the Sony, this is a more versatile earphone that you can use with a variety of different genres and still find it fun to listen to. Next up, all the way from China, I have the SoundMAGIC E10C. Now this earphone has been around for a long time. First is the E10, then the E10S, and this is the latest iteration, the E10C. And over the years, these earphones have raked up so many awards. And it's for good reason, because they offer tremendous value for money. The earphones themselves, in terms of design, has a 10mm dynamic driver on each side. It's housed inside a really nice metallic earphone housing. The cables are really nice and durable. It's got this very unusual plastic sheathing on it, but it makes the cables quite durable. It comes with a 3-button mic and remote that allows you to adjust the volume when you're on the go. In terms of sound, this is also a V-shaped sound signature, which means that there is a little bit of emphasis on the treble and bass, while the mid-range is a little more recessed. But as compared to the J's and the Sony, you can hear a lot more detail in these earphones. It feels a lot more balanced. The sound stage is now opening up a little bit, where you can hear things happening on the left and the right and in the middle. Also, at the same time, you'll find that the separation between the instruments can be heard, where you can quite literally hear where each instrument is coming from and be able to visualize it in your head. So for the price, it's no wonder that the E10C are a very, very popular choice. All right, next up, I've got a very special earphone with me. This is the KZ ZST-X in-ear monitors. KZ is not a very popular or very widely known brand, but amongst audiophiles, they almost have a cult following for giving you some incredible sounding in-ear monitors, but at ridiculously low prices. And the value for money quotient on these is incredible. Now, as compared to all the other earphones that we've discussed until now, these are very, very unique, because while all the other products I've talked about have a single driver on each side, the ZST-X has two drivers on each side. It's got one dynamic driver, which is focused on the bass, and it's got one hypersensitive balanced armature driver that is focused on the treble and the mid-range. Both these drivers work together in each ear to give you a very, very rich and detailed sound signature. The design of the earphones also is very unique. You'll find that the entire housing is made out of transparent acrylic, so you can quite literally see the inner workings and both the different driver units inside. It also comes with a detachable cable. The cable is a really nice high quality braided cable with silver plated wires in there. It's also got a one-button mic and remote that you can use to pick up and drop calls on the go. The ZST-X has a very neutral, some might even say a forward or a bright sound signature. And that's because the first time you put these on, you hear an incredible amount of detail, and you'll hear a lot of things that you couldn't hear on the earlier earphones. The earphones themselves, though, give you a lot of instrument separation. You can hear each instrument quite distinctly, quite clearly. You can hear the edges of every note. And now the soundstage opens up where you can hear a much wider presentation of music. All right, guys, next up, I've got another very special earphone, one of my favorite in this segment, the KZ ZSN Pro X. Very, very similar to the ZST-X. It's got a hybrid driver configuration, one dynamic and one balanced armature driver per side. It's very similar in its design to the ZST-X, but with one notable exception, that it's got a metallic faceplate, giving it a slightly more premium and durable look and feel. The big difference between the ZST-X and the ZSN Pro X is that this has a lot more emphasis on the bass on the low end. So for a lot of people who found the ZST-X a little light on the bass are going to love the ZSN Pro X. One of the things that I highly recommend that you do with the ZSN Pro X, though, is to use the fact that it has detachable cables to upgrade the cable to a balanced cable that you can plug into any amp and DAC that has a balanced output to really, really improve the sound. The bass becomes tighter, the sound stage opens up and becomes wider, and paired with the right DAC and the right cable, it really makes a big difference to the sound. So I really like the ZSN Pro X for that reason. Next up, this is the CCA C4. It's a very similar IEM to both the KZs. It also has a hybrid driver configuration, one dynamic and one balanced armature driver per side. It looks very, very similar. It even has a very similar looking earphone tip, and the cables are detachable, but the difference between this earphone and both the KZs is that this comes with a copper cable rather than the silver plated cables that both the KZs come with. I think that makes a difference to the sound signature, because with these earphones, you'll find that they're a little bit more neutral, a little bit more balanced than the KZs. It's a little bit more laid back. And so the vocals and the mid-range seem to get a little bit more prominence, with the instruments, the bass, the treble, taking a slightly more recessed outlook. So if you're somebody who likes listening to the vocal performance on a song, or you like listening to an instrument specifically in the mid-range segment like a violin, a trumpet, a guitar, then the CCA CA4 is a really nice IEM to listen to. Alright, next up, I have got another very, very special and unique earphone in my hand. This is the Moondrop Spaceship. It's quite possibly one of the best sounding earphones I have heard for less than 2,000 rupees. Now, Moondrop is quite well known amongst audiophile circle. The Starsfield, the Blessing 2 are very acclaimed earphones that are very reasonably priced, and they're very well reviewed all around the world. The Spaceship is Moondrop's attempt to bring their signature sound and innovation to a very reasonable entry-level price point of less than 2,000 rupees. Now, it has a single dynamic driver per side, only 6 millimeters large. It's housed inside this ultra compact but really well made metallic housing. It's polished to a mirror finish. The earphones themselves are so lightweight and compact that they can sit in your ears for hours on end without you realizing. The cables are not detachable, but Moondrop has used what we call oxygen-free cables, something that you'd find on very premium earphones. The cables also come with a really nice one-button mic and remote that's very well built, and even the earphone plug is metallic and solid built. So these earphones are really durable, they're built to last. Why I like them though is because of the sound signature. Even though it's a single dynamic driver, it's giving you a very cohesive, a very detailed, and a very smooth sound signature. The earphones don't have the harshness that you sometimes can hear from the hybrids of KZs. Now, there's an edge to the sound that almost disappears with the Moondrops. They're so smooth to listen to. The only downside of these earphones is that they're quite hard to drive. So you'll find that even with a mobile phone or a laptop, you're listening to it on full volume, but the earphones may not get very loud. So I highly recommend that you use these along with a portable DAC that is able to drive these earphones really well, and you'll find that they're going to sound even better the minute that they're powered well. The last earphones I want to talk about today are slightly more expensive than 2,000 rupees, but I nonetheless thought I should include it in this video because a lot of you who might be watching this may compare your options to these earphones, the BLON BL03. The earphones themselves are very uniquely shaped. It's almost shaped like a bean, but the housing is entirely made out of metal. It's quite durable. The cables are detachable, but I find a really hard time finding a compatible cable that fits really easily onto the BLONs. The cables that come with it themselves are quite high quality. It comes with one button mic and remote. It's a braided cable, so you'll find that it doesn't tangle very easily. The reason that these earphones are so popular is because it's got the detailed, it's got the presentation, it's got the wide soundstage that you hear from the KZs, but it doesn't have any of the harshness. It's got a warm, smooth, laid-back sound signature. So you can find that you're listening to these earphones for several hours at a time without feeling any fatigue. It may not impress you on the first listen the way a KZ hybrid can, but you'll find that after about 5 or 10 minutes listening to these earphones, you'll find that it's very easy to listen to, and you've got a lot of detail that you can hear. The soundstage is nice and open. For the price, you're not going to get a wider sounding earphone, and at the same time, you're going to enjoy looking and feeling these earphones as a premium build quality for the price. I know I've given you quite a few options and it might just confuse you on what's the right earphone for you. As far as sound goes, I genuinely think that some of the Chinese IEMs that I've spoken about, the KZs, the BLON, the Moondrop, are far superior to the more popular brands that we have available like the SoundMAGIC E10C or the Sony. But at the same time, the Sony, the J's has been made keeping one very specific purpose in mind, to make it fun to listen to. The Sony will blow your socks off with the bass. The J's is a very premium design, looks really nice, V-shaped, still fun to listen to, but without that overpowering bass. The KZ's, the ZSTX, is a very detailed, very neutral sounding earphone, one of my favorites. And if you like a little bit of extra bass to just add that punch into it, the ZSN Pro X is probably the first pick I would recommend. For someone who's really taking an audiophile's outlook and is looking for a very smooth, cohesive sound without any harshness at all, I don't think you will find a better sounding IEM than the Moondrop Spaceship. It's incredible, but the only downside is that you really should use it with a nice DAC that helps you scale it up, like the Shandling UA1 or the UP2 or the Astlin Kern XB10. If you're looking for a little bit of everything in one nice, tight, concise package, the BLON BL03 is a very easy earphone to listen to. It's a lot of fun and a lot of audiophiles start their journey there. I hope that by watching this video, you're going to be able to pick one or the other earphone. You can't really go wrong with any of them, but make sure that you're picking a earphone knowing what's important to you, and I'm sure that the choice is going to impress you right off the bat.